As I've said before, the anime game here in America is a tale of many a company trying to stake a permanent claim in the proverbial quicksand that is the otaku market. Some rose, most fell, and the ones that are still surviving can and will surprise you. It's easy to look at the stalwarts, Funimation and Viz specifically, and think that they're the only games left in town, but they are far from the only ones. They're just the ones that license the most popular anime released today. But between Right Stuf International with their Nozomi brand, G-Kids with their art house approach in acquiring premier titles, and Discotek rescuing as many out-of-print titles as they can, there are plenty of companies trying to pump out anime to meet demand. And then there are the companies that still exist for no explicable reason, like Media Blasters. We've talked a bit about the New York company that grew out of Central Park Media's shadow before, but I don't believe we actually delved deep into the history or the nitty-gritty details, few and scattershot as they are. Media Blasters is a holding company of sorts that are the owners of several brands of licensors, their most mainstream of which is AnimeWorks, and their most well-known being Kitty Media. And if you claim to not know what Kitty Media is, you need to work on your poker face. While never the powerhouse that Central Park Media were, they were the little engine that kept trucking along and picking up licenses wherever they could, but never for very long. As they managed to score anime that would stand the test of time, they would just as soon lose it in a couple of years to more established companies. It was either that or they would just lose the rights entirely to the capricious whims of public interest, never to be claimed again. And yet they still exist. Tenuous as that existence is. They still license what few anime rights they do have to a number of digital outlets, and seeing as how they still are the American rights holders of several Queensblade titles, you can bet that they'll find a way to store their nuts for the long, unforgiving winter. But if you told an otaku way back when that Media Blasters would still exist in the year of our Lord 2020, you'd only be met with a singular question of how? And I can't rightfully answer that. Nor can anyone really. Article after article calling into question just how this company stays afloat have been circulating for the last decade. My personal favorite account comes from a 2012 article on Anime News Network, citing that the New York State government has the entire business listed as dissolved, adding that a chunk of their cited release schedule was going to be delayed. And yet, on their own Facebook page, Media Blasters would post, quote, "Still here, still selling anime. Yeah, Sentai Filmworks got Queensblade, but we will be getting out Fushigi Yugi soon. Hard to survive in this new anime world." They would go on to explain that they filed for extensions for the previous 3 years, and that they didn't know that the then acting New York Secretary of State would take action, adding that ANN didn't contact them for comment or for clarification, which then prompted ANN to comment that they did try to contact them, and Christ, I thought I graduated high school to escape this kind of he said she said bullshit. That was 8 years ago, and despite them having to lay off about 60% of their entire workforce back in January of 2012, they're still here! I mean, Bandai? Gone. ADV? Some might argue they continue as Sentai Filmworks, but realistically, they're history. Central Park Media? Yesterday's news. But it's Media Blasters, of all companies, that are still somehow alive. To really understand the gravitas of that statement, you have to realize that the entire company's history was built upon a catalog of titles like the Tokyo Project. I pose this question to all of you. Do you remember the Tokyo Project? Logic dictates that at least some of you might, just by sheer numerical probability. But the plain and simple fact is that the Tokyo Project might be in the top 10 most obscure anime I've ever talked about on the show. Possibly in the top 5. And it's not like it's some kind of forgotten piece of crap that I uncover and it's so balls out crazy you just have to wonder how anyone could forget something like it. Oh, I understand perfectly well why everyone forgot about this. Entirely boring, entirely dumb, and entirely incompetent, the Tokyo Project is, sadly, representative of the foundational history of Media Blasters. And for the next few episodes, we're going to be looking at this as well as a few other releases that made up the bedrock of the company's befuddling history. But first, we have to tackle the amateur hour that is the Tokyo Project. So, what do we know about this? Well, it was written and directed by Osamu Yamasaki, the same writer and director of such luminary classics as Wrath of the Ninja,
Shadow Warriors! I am one of the 7 ninja of Oboro!
and Tokyo Revelation.
So long. You really are something.
And Gestalt.
You never truly believe in anything. You never question what's possible. You're always afraid and always unable to open your eyes, and that's the reason why you'll always suck.
Look, I may have a soft spot for Gestalt, but I wouldn't exactly wear that with pride if you catch me. Though the credit for original story goes to Minamimachi Bugyosho, which as far as I can tell is just an animation house that has no other writing credits, and isn't that some good news, Osamu is credited for writing and direction. Not only that, but he also took the position of animation direction as well as mechanical designer, and also helped in storyboarding, so I feel it's pretty fair to say that this is the man's baby through and through. In fact, he was so proud of his achievement that he credited himself under a fake name. We all love our children, but sometimes we have to put our foot down and say, son, I am disappointed. This is the Tokyo Project. We open on a spectacularly 80s note with a concert that sounds like if Billy Squier covered the Kinks. Apparently, everybody wants this guy here, possibly because he's carrying everybody's favorite 80s plot device, a floppy disk. Seems he's also dying from a gunshot wound, and he manages to hand it off to a completely random person and tells him to take it to a Professor Takashiro, all before keeling over. Now, I know it seems pretty early to try and pump the brakes, but already this setup is broken beyond repair. Okay, so this guy is obviously dying from a wound, and yet somehow he managed to make his way through this crowd of people for what? Was he counting on meeting this guy? Because him telling him to take that disc to Professor Takashiro means he expected him to know who this professor is. It's not like he said his full name either.
Give this disc to Professor Takashiro.
What? What?
What? No.
So I guess we are to assume that he knows who Professor Takashiro is. Somehow. And he knew that this guy was here at this concert at this particular point in time and had the mental fortitude and wherewithal to get himself there while he was dying from exsanguination. Okay, I guess that means this guy is our protagonist? Whoever this guy is?
Good morning, class. I need everyone to take out their notebooks and open the textbooks to page 69.
1. Nice. 2. He's a college student? When you find out that the guy who was killed was a college professor that has gone missing for 5 years thanks to the exposition given to us by a disembodied voice from out of nowhere.
He was an ex-professor from Tower University of Technology. Mr. Saki had been missing the last 5 years. His family had already filed a missing person report.
You might think they may have known each other as teacher and student, but no, that doesn't make sense if the guy's been missing for 5 years.
If he needed help from the police, he could have gone to the police. But he gave me the disc instead.
And judging by his tone, he must have not known the guy from Adam. And who the hell is this guy? He just shows up in the middle of his class to talk about the disc and mentioning that they should have gone to the police. Twice, I might add.
Leave it to the police.
No, man. I think he was counting on me when he handed me that disc. And listen, this is our once-in-a-lifetime chance, you know?
No, I don't, actually. Once-in-a-lifetime chance to do... what, exactly? Solve a mystery? Which I guess might be it, because these guys, as well as these women, are apparently private detectives for the Rutz Detective Agency, which I only know because I read the back of the DVD box because the anime proper doesn't fucking tell us. What kind of storytelling is this where they don't even attempt to establish that our characters are private detectives? And I'm not even going to go into the absurd notion that these wet behind the ears, grassy ass Goro Akechi wannabes somehow managed to fund their own detective agency. So this entire anime setup is that a dying man, knowing he only has a limited time to live, somehow knew to go to a particular rock club on a particular night where a particular private detective just so happened to be, banking on him knowing exactly who he needed to go to with only a last name and a title to go by. It wouldn't surprise me to find out that the Japanese release of this OVA came with a pamphlet with all the details and backstory, but pro tip coming right at you here. If you have to rely on something like that, your anime sucks.
This better not be that disc.
Akira, please analyze the contents of this disc and let me know what you think.
That son of a bitch. I asked him not to, and he's going to involve me anyway.
At least he didn't leave you out.
I would think that's exactly what he wanted him to do. Or were you even listening to yourself, you vacuous idiot? I swear to God, this might be the dumbest script I have ever heard in anime. Characters either don't listen to each other or the story makes no heed for callbacks. There's no sense of setup, payoff, or logic even. It's just amazing to see the depths of stupidity this story achieves over and over again. Speaking of...
You shouldn't have killed him like that. Listen, if it doesn't work out this time, I want out.
Yes, sir. We know his exact trail, so we will recover the disc in a few days.
Remember this little nugget for later. So, despite being expressly told by a dying man to hand this disc over to a Professor Takashiro, Junpei here, yeah, the cast just doesn't deserve nicknames, decides to ignore it and instead somehow finds the guy's widow to ask her about his work with the arms manufacturer at the Yotsuboshi Corporation. And since her purpose as transparent exposition dump has been achieved, she exits the story and is never seen again. Just so dumb. Meanwhile, Keiko checks in at the Ritz to see a Mr. Kurata. Not sure how she knows this guy, nor is any of this really followed up on. So why is this scene even here? Well, maybe it's so we can witness even more scintillating dialogue.
So I heard that you're getting married soon.
Well, yes. We're getting married this summer.
Congratulations. I hope that everything goes well for you.
Thanks. Guess what? I'm pregnant.
Let me guess. That's why you're getting married. Woman who we've never seen before, nor will we ever see again. So we find out that the little disc contains a sophisticated guidance system for a weapon system AI, all contained upon a 1.44 megabyte floppy disk. The thumbnail for this video that you're watching right now couldn't be held on one of those things, and yet the entirety of a military targeting system is on there. It probably has enough room for a sweet JPEG of the NEDM cat. Just think about how the 80s thought technology worked the next time you have to download a 5 gigabyte day one patch. So, figuring that he might as well fulfill the wishes of a dying man sometime, Junpei goes to the university. And it seems that the professor has retired and is no longer at the university. And smelling a rat, Junpei decides to skedaddle. But not before the obviously two-timing adjunct here rats on him to this Frank Grimes-looking suit.
Also, he seemed to know something.
That's not good. Anyway, get the disc back first. Do whatever you need to.
And that includes trying to kill him on the expressway with an attack helicopter. You heard me.
Holy shit!
Now, I'm sure this is all meant to be dramatic and action-packed, but you see, it's very hard for the audience to emotionally invest themselves in the outcome of this character when the actor reacts like he were goddamn Rain Man.
He's lining up on me. Time to boogie. Gotta keep moving.
Gotta watch Wapner. Gotta watch Wapner. And sure enough, he skids into an explosion. So, hey, what was that clip again?
You shouldn't have killed him like that.
No! Admittedly, I telegraphed that one pretty badly, but the blatancy of it all is just galling. I mean, you don't need to have an intimidating, shadowy politician with a snapping turtle who he feeds mice to. I'm sorry, but did they just run out of every other predatory animal in the supervillain pet store? Anyway, yeah, if you had two brain cells to rub together, you wouldn't need this guy to tell you that if somebody has something you need and you don't know exactly where it is, you don't kill the guy. But apparently this numbnuts here needs to be told twice. And it's not like he didn't know that Junpei didn't have the disc on him, which is the rare grammatically correct triple negative, because he was plainly told he didn't have it on him. And even if he did have it on him, they need it back, not lose it or have it destroyed in a hail of hellfire missiles.
Stupid! You're so stupid!
Kumiko.
Oh, Akira, why did this happen?
It's okay. He's gonna be all right.
Ha! That is some masterclass bullshitting right there. Yeah, dude just took an explosion straight to the face in a motorcycle crash, but he should be up and doing wind sprints by Thursday. It's like he knows he's in a shitty anime. And then there's this guy.
I know you know something. Akira, what are you guys after? Just like that Seiki incident, you're involved in something. Akira, I'm counting on you to help us.
I have no idea where this lurch-sounding cop came from, but he just arrives to reprimand Akira. Maybe because he and Junpei are private detectives, they've crossed paths at some point, which would have been nice to see, instead of the anime just throwing us to the wolves. And again, I only know that because I read the back of the DVD box. Have I yet made my case for this being the dumbest script in anime? Because there is still way more to go. Oh god, there is still way more to go.
This is base. That's a negative. Return to the station immediately.
What?
Report to Chief Odira.
All right. Okay. I'm on my way there now.
An assassination turns into a kidnapping, leading Akira and Keiko to chase after them. Not only that, but it seems these guys have ties with the police.
There's something pretty big going on here. We can't do anything about it if the pressure's coming from the top.
Get your fucking hands off of me.
Okay, Darkman.
Thank the fucking elephant.
All Keiko and Akira can do for the moment is just wait for the inevitable phone call for the kidnapper's demands.
We have the girl, and if you ever want to see her alive again, bring her to the industrial park tonight at 11 o'clock. And make sure you bring that floppy disk. Got it? You better come along, and you better not forget that disk. You got it?
Bring her along, but come alone. Unless Akira and Keiko exist in this quantum state of being whereby they do and don't affect the material plane? How? Of course, the deal goes south and quick, since he came alone with Keiko.
Quite impressive, but are you willing to take the chance that the disc will get ruined?
Yeah.
No!
Good thing that the resident computer expert here is also a master martial artist, and good thing that Keiko also happened to have a grenade launcher with gas canister rounds. Okay, now I think the back of the DVD box is lying to me, because what kind of detective agency has these kinds of munitions?
So where'd you get all this stuff from anyway?
Oh, this ought to be good.
Well, believe you me, it wasn't the easiest thing I've ever done, but I did come through.
That's not an explanation, that's a slap to the face! Meanwhile, Junpei magics himself out of a coma and proves himself to also be a secret badass by escaping the hospital to check in with the other three, where he discovers that, oh my god, they didn't even know how to composite footage at an angle. Why even storyboard it like this if you didn't know how to do that?
Stupid. Yotsuboshi, Lab 3. Those bastards, they're trying to leave me out of this.
Or, they thought you were in a coma. Because you were. So Akira here solid snakes his way through the Yotsuboshi stronghold by, I'm so not kidding here, throwing a bunch of ball bearings and making the guards here think their laser security system was going haywire. Well, at least they're consistent in their stupidity. Speaking of...
The police are moving. That is nonsense. It can't be. It is not possible.
It is possible, sir, and it's happening.
Oh man, did Tony Kushner write this riveting dialogue? After he suffered a massive head wound? It's only a matter of time before Akira is cornered and has to stare down the AI weapon platform that's only been alluded to so far, and him without any Stinger missiles too.
How about now? Are you ready to give it to us?
Do you really think I'd be so stupid as to bring the disc with me in here?
Yeah, actually. Since Metal Gear Runt doesn't have a functioning balance system...
What are you going to do with a rocket engine on a tank?
Akira can just play the long game and dodge its hailing gunfire. Meanwhile, Junpei blows past the front guards and just so happens upon the goddamn linear launcher. Okay... And like a dumbass, the Runt shoots out the glass that's separating Frank Grimes from the floor, and this somehow causes the computer control system to go haywire, and now it just targets everything and anything, and Christ, this is just devolving into a cluster. At least that means it's wrapping up.
It can't end like this. Think, Akira.
Hold on, wait a minute. Did Metal Gear Runt make a Tyrannosaurus Rex sound? Stealing only from the best, I see.
Hang on, Akira! I'm on my way! Junpei, it's too late. You can't make it.
Okay, hold the phone. How in the world did Akira know where Junpei was? And how in the hell did Junpei know where Akira is? Yeah, we're going to need one more stupid clip.
You are made of stupid.
You know, the smart thing to do would be to run away from a crazed robot that couldn't hit the broadside of a barn, but no, Junpei's pride is at stake, so he has to finish this thing off. I mean, who else is going to get the epic loot drop, am I right?
Did I get it? Shit!
You tell me, folks, does this sound like a guy who's staring down certain death? Or like the class idiot who was just asked a math problem he doesn't know the answer to?
Shit!
That's what I thought. At this point in the dub, it's barely even worth mentioning just how utterly awful everyone is, but the sheer lack of effort on display really catapults this into the worst dub of all time discussion. Sure, there are dubs that are more hilariously awful, and there are certainly more dubs that are technically worse with blown takes aplenty, but I can't really think of any one dub that gave less of a shit than this one. I sincerely doubt anyone bothered with a second take, and the ill-conceived ad-libs that were just thrown in to make it seem more exciting are just tragic.
What the hell is that? Oh, fuck, laser. No place to hide. Ah! Oh, jeez.
It literally sounds like the actor is just reacting to the footage for the first time. This is not how you make a dub. Thankfully, the anime is on the way out. If Junpei being cornered into a presumably OSHA-approved bottomless pit is any indication toward an explosive finale, which occurs when Junpei sinks a bullet into Runt, which causes it to fall, and somehow this also coincides with the building's self-destruct sequence? Well, if it's an ending, it's an ending, even though him escaping out of there with that limp is absolute bullshit. But I guess no more bullshit than him surviving a motorcycle crash into an explosion? This is just wretched stuff from top to bottom, just awful. I can't think of anything good this anime does, from the insipid story to the boring characters. Even the animation and art style are barely average for the time. This was an OVA that only Media Blasters would localize, and sadly, this is far from the only one they did. Next week we're going to be talking about an anime that isn't nearly as stupid. But the story of its creation is one of the most hysterically inept I've ever come across. It's going to be a hoot and a holler, ladies and gentlemen, as we talk about Shiro Masamune's Gundress. Till next time.